Modern feminism is making girls miserable. It's hard not to be depressed looking at statistics on teenage depression, especially for girls. 24% of girls said they had made a suicide plan and 13% saying they attempted it. Another 4% said they were injured in a suicide attempt, double the rate of boys. And, a huge thing that I want to talk about with that is, modern feminism is making girls miserable. Is that, look, we're growing up in a world now where people are becoming so soft and so insecure about who they are that they're questioning their own existence. They're questioning, if they're straight, if they're bi, if they're gay, if they're tranny, whatever it is, whatever you're into. But there's like all these different options. And that I think we're just becoming more and more like, there's so many more opportunities out in the world where like you're just seeing all these different avenues of different people, and there's so many different options of like who to be, what your career is, what to do. There's just so many things out there that I think people are being potentially confused, and it's not in their best interest. But if somebody knows where they're going and they know, this is who I am, this is what, then you wouldn't be miserable and you wouldn't be a depressed, suicidal teen. But if you are a suicidal, depressed teen, then I would say just be really conscious of your surroundings. Like if you're a suicidal kid and you're thinking about killing yourself, well, there's something going on in your existence that is not okay in your existence, or else you wouldn't be feeling like that. And if you're really that bummed out, because I've been there, and there's something, which it means that when you are feeling depressed, when you are just like, screw it all, suicide, whatever, fuck it all, end it, like, then there's something wrong. And then if you can, I've luckily had the wherewithal to now become strong enough to see like, hey, stop being a bitch. Like, there's something wrong, figure out what's wrong, move on, like harden up and figure it out. No one's feeling sorry for you. Don't feel sorry for yourself. There's no one out there that's going to save you, and figure it out. But that, I dealt with it probably in a much more like cold turkey, like hard, straight up way than most people probably would. And I'm not giving myself credit. I'm just saying that the average person wouldn't do it the way that I've done it or been able to. And I'm just saying that there's different ways to approach it. But I think that we're confused with where we're going. And like, there's a lot of different things like with that blurred line that I was saying about how, girls are questioning who they are, or if they're guys or they're girls or whatever. This isn't random, and it's not a place to judge. Like, hey, if a guy is feeling, like he wants to be a girl, or a girl's feeling like he wants to be a guy, that's not something to like personally judge that person for. Of course people can do that. I believe it's a much bigger thing happening. There's much more at play. And that, there's something out there that's creating a mass majority of people to feel completely insecure, feeling depressed, feeling suicidal. Maybe they go to school and there's tons of jealousy, or somebody's making fun of them, or they're like, oh, that girl's pretty and I'm not like that. And like, oh, if I could only be her. And it's like, you're focusing on the lack of who you are. And then you're seeing that up front and you're like, damn, I could be like that. And there's like this object fixation kind of thing of like, no, you should be inspired to be like, oh, well, I don't like this, or I want to change this about my life, or whatever. And every single person's going through something different. So that lack of, like being jealous is such a bad, unhealthy thing. If you're looking for short-term gratification and like all of a sudden a kid kills himself because he gets one text from a girl, one text, like it said something, and they could have not even been serious, and this is happening where like somebody sees something on social media, or somebody gets their, someone sends a nude out and then the kid sends it to the whole school or whatever. And it's like, that's a life ruiner for the kid. It's like, look, you shouldn't have done that. You learned your lesson. Of course, you're going to be publicly ridiculed and made fun of, but like, you got to see the bigger picture. You got to see that who cares? We all have a naked body. There's tons of pictures of naked people out there on the internet. Doesn't just because it's you and the people around you saw, like, who cares? It's not a big deal, and you'll be able to move past it. It's not worth ruining the rest of your life, or ending your life, or making it even that much worse by just not just seeing it for what it is. Like, you can move past it. There's tons of opportunity to just move past it. You learn from your mistakes and you move on. And I think that right now there's a ton of frustration where kids think that it's like, it's all end all be all, my life's over because my girlfriend broke up with me. It's like, no, dude, obviously you saw when I went through that, it was like the worst, horrible, hardest thing ever at the time, but now it's like the best thing that ever happened to me because I went through it. I made tons of mistakes. I treated that person super poorly, and then I turned around and was like, you're the problem, you made the mistakes, own up to it. And for kids out there that I think aren't developed enough and they make these impulsive decisions that they feel is like super important and meaningful at the time, and then it backfired or whatever, it's like that is going to build you. There's two sides of it. It's like you either sink below it and people tell you, oh, you know, talking down to you, or you're like, no, this is building me. I made them. There's no progress without mistakes. You're going to make mistakes. You have to make sacrifices. And I think that they're thinking too short term. And like, oh, this one day at school, this kid said that to me. There's going to be 10,000 more days, you know, like it doesn't need to be this one day. That doesn't need to be this one friend. It doesn't matter. This, you know, one kid was making fun of you. Screw him. Let him go somewhere else. What do you give him the power for? You cannot give anybody power over yourself unless you allow them to. And so what I'm telling, you know, the young teen out there, whether you're a girl or a guy and you're depressed out of your mind, and it's because of something. There's something bugging you. It's either your parents or your teacher or a friend or somebody that, you know, cheated on, whatever it is. I don't care what it is, but it's something bothering you, and you got to rise above it, and you got to understand that there's something in your, you know, in your being that is so much more than that. And it's one situation. And I always talk about putting yourself in a dark room, silent, eyes closed, and just being that, and nobody around. That person, the situation, whatever it is gone from that. It's not a part of you. It's just a situation you're dealing with, and you'll be able to get through that situation as long as you work towards it and understand that you're so much more than a given situation. It's not worth killing yourself. It's not worth getting depressed over. Figure out the solution and move on.